Hello, Dawn. My name's William from GS Gaming, and I wanted to go over a couple of the intricacies of building a spellcasting character for Hollow Dawn. Building a spellcaster can be a little bit more complex than building a martial character. So for that reason, I wanted to just go through the steps and see if we can't start it all out. In order to do that, we're going to have to look at three core concepts that we need to know before we go through any of this. The first of them is spell level. Each of the spells in the class are listed with a specific level. First level, second level, third level, all the way up through sixth level, which is the highest level that we're going to be playing in Hollow Dawn. So this number is called the spell level, and what it means is that you cannot learn spells that are of a higher spell level than your caster level. Second is the concept of spell tiers, which are related to spell levels. In Hollow Dawn, there are 4 different spell tiers. The first is Novice. Novice spells are any spell from 1st to 3rd spell level. The second is Intermediate. Intermediate are spells that are 4th through 6th level. Greater spells are 7th through 9th level, and Master level spells are 10th level spells. The final concept is that of a spell book. Every caster has to have a spell book, which is a notebook or some other way of recording things. It can be as creative as you want, where you write down all of the spells that you know. Generally, that means you include the name of the spell, its incantation. You can also make other notes about other important things that you need to know. So, once you have a spell book, we're going to need to know how many spells you can put into that spell book. And this is where the table in your class chapter comes into play. If you have a look at the chapter that describes your class, you'll see the second table there is called the spell progression table. And it lists spellbook levels as one of the things. Now, what those levels are is that's the number of spell levels worth of spells that you can put into your spellbook. So if it says 4, that means you could put in 4 first level spells, or 2 second level spells, or 1 third level spell, and a first level spell. Pretty simple. After you've filled in your spellbook with all the spells that you want to know, the next thing that's important is preparation. Preparation is basically taking spells that you know from your spellbook and putting them in the forefront of your mind for easy casting. So, if you look at that spell progression table, let's say second level, for Mage it says 4 prepared spells. What that means is I can study my spellbook and I can get 4 spells ready to cast. It doesn't matter what the tiers of the spells are that you prepare. So, if it says that you can prepare 8 spells, that's 8 spells of any tier. You could do 3 novice tier spells and 5 intermediate tier spells. The mix is up to you. In that same spell progression table, it has a column for spell slots, and that'll show you how many of your prepared spells you can actually cast of each kind. So, for example, first level, it may say 2/0/0/0/0. What that means is you can cast 2 novice tier spells, 0 intermediate tier spells, 0 greater tier spells, and 0 master tier spells. Now, how does that interact with preparation? Well, let's say, for example, that I have 6 spells prepared and I have 6 novice spell slots. That means that every time I cast a novice level spell, it will expend one of those spell slots. So, if I prepared 6 spells, I could choose any one of those 6 and cast one, and that would use up one of those slots. Now, I don't have to cast the same spell 6 times. I don't have to cast each spell 1 time. It basically gives me a few options as far as what I want to cast out of the ones that I've gotten ready. All the same principles apply once I get up into those intermediate spell slots. So, for example, at 4th level, I might have 8 prepared spells, and I may be able to cast 6 novice spell slots and 2 intermediate spell slots. And what that means is, of all of the spells I know, I pick 8 of them, and those are the ones that I prepare every morning at a long rest. And then, throughout the day, I could cast 6 novice spells of any of the novice spells that I've prepared, and I could cast up to 2 intermediate spells of all of the intermediate spells that I've prepared. I can also spend those intermediate slots to cast novice tier spells, but that generally means that I've lost out on some power. The last thing in that table that we need to talk about are cantrips. Cantrips are special spells that you can cast as often as you'd like. They don't take up spell slots to cast, and you don't have to prepare them. However, once you've chosen a cantrip and put it into your spellbook as one that you know or can cast, it's pretty much yours forever. There are some ways to trade them out, but for the most part, make sure you like the cantrips you've got. So, to sum up, the first thing you do is you pick which spells you want to know and you put them into your spellbook. And the number of spells that you can put into your spellbook is determined by that spellbook levels column in your spell progression chart. Once you have a bunch of spells written down in there, every long rest you will prepare your spells, which means that you will write down which spells you're going to prepare to a special list in your spellbook that's generally given with the date. So, the number of spells that you can prepare is listed under prepared spells in that spell progression chart. Last but not least, as you go throughout the day, you're going to want to cast spells. And you can cast any of the spells that you have prepared using your spell slots. And the spell slots are broken down by tier: Novice, Intermediate, Greater, and Master. Finally, just a couple of little add-ons. The first is that although you prepare your spells after a long rest each day, you can also change out some of those spells during a short rest. You can change which spells you have prepared every time you take a short rest by crossing out the ones you don't want to have prepared anymore and writing in new ones. Once you've done that, those are the spells you have prepared, and you can use your spell slots to cast them. The second is that your spell slots will refresh. So each one of the casting classes has a special little thing that they can do that will allow them to refresh a certain number of their spell slots. What that means is they can get them back once they've been used in order to use them again. For example, necromancers can do a specific rite over a corpse, and they can use that to refresh some of their spell slots. Mages can concentrate and study their spellbook, and that's how they do it. Anyway, throughout the day, you have a certain number of spell slots that you can refresh, and that will allow you to continue to casting after you've used up those first few. If you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to come hit us up in the rules channel in our Discord, or find someone who knows and ask them the question. Anyway, thank you for listening. See you next time.